In August 2016, the big American company Uber stopped its business in China. After a long and expensive fight, it lost to its Chinese competitor, Didi Chuxing. Uber was a very successful company in many countries around the world. It changed how people travel in cities from San Francisco to Singapore. But in China, it failed. This failure cost Uber more than $2 billion in just 2 years. The company that won in so many places could not win in China. Why did Uber lose? The main reason is that the company did not understand China. Uber's idea of China was like the world's first photograph. This old picture from 1826 was very blurry. You could see the general shapes of buildings and the countryside, but you could not see the small, important things. The details were missing and the picture was not clear. In the same way, Uber saw a big opportunity. It saw the large cities, the growing number of rich people, and the many people with new phones. But it missed the crucial details about the culture, the government, and the strong local competition. Uber's picture of China was incomplete. Travis Kalanick was the CEO of Uber at that time. He later said, "We were a young American business entering a country where very few technology companies had found success." He understood this too late. Uber believed its American business plan was perfect and would work everywhere with only small changes. But China was very different. The company's simple plan did not work in a country with a complex culture and powerful local businesses that knew the market better. This story will look closely at Uber's problems in China. To explain what happened, we will use ideas from the history of photography. Each important step in photography, from old, unclear pictures to modern digital photos, will help explain a part of Uber's story. We will see why Uber's vision was out of focus and why this strong company failed to capture the Chinese market. 2. A big dream in China. Uber had a big dream for China. The company's plan was like a very old type of photo called a daguerreotype. These old photos were beautiful and very clear, but they had a big problem. You could not make copies. Each photo was unique and rigid. It could not be changed. Uber's idea for China was like this. It was a beautiful plan, but it was also rigid. The company's boss at that time was Travis Kalanick. He was very confident. He believed that Uber's American business plan was perfect. He thought this plan would work everywhere in the world, including China. The company believed it did not need to make many changes. A former Uber manager said that the plan was about perfection, not about changing for a new country. The belief was simple. What works in San Francisco will work in Shanghai. So Uber came to China with its American plan. This plan was like a set of rules that worked well in other countries. The plan focused on offering premium, expensive cars first. The app was modern, black, and looked very cool. This was Uber's style. They wanted to bring this exact same style to China. They tried to copy their American business directly, without an intermediate step to adapt to the new market. They did not spend much time thinking about what was different about Chinese customers or cities. This was the daguerreotype dream. Uber had a perfect picture of its success in America. The company wanted to create the exact same picture in China. They thought their plan was a universal key to success. But a plan that cannot change or adapt is a big risk. China was a very different place. A beautiful, rigid picture from another country was not what the Chinese market needed. Uber was about to learn that a dream from one place cannot always be rebuilt in another. 3. Early problems. When Uber started in China, it had serious problems from the first day. These were not small issues. They were basic problems with how the Uber app worked in the country. The company's plan from America did not work well in a new place. The first big problem was with maps. The Uber app needs a good map to show where the cars are. It also needs a map to show drivers where to go. Uber's app used Google Maps. But in China, the government blocks Google services. So Google Maps did not work correctly. This made the app very difficult to use. Customers could not see their car arriving. Drivers could not easily find their passengers. This created a bad experience for everyone and made people unhappy with Uber. The second big problem was about paying for rides. Uber's system was built for international credit cards. But most people in China did not use these cards. Instead, they used local mobile payment apps like Alipay and WeChat Pay. These payment methods are very popular and easy to use. For a Chinese customer, paying for an Uber was complicated. For Uber's competitors, paying was very simple. Customers could pay with just one click inside an app they already used every day. Uber was slow to fix these two major problems. It took the company a long time to change its app to use a Chinese map service like Baidu Maps. It also took a long time to add Alipay so customers could pay easily. This slow reaction was a big mistake. While Uber was trying to fix its app, local competitors like Didi were growing very fast. Their apps did not have these problems. They were built for China from the beginning. This gave them a huge advantage. 4. A strong competitor. Uber was a big global company, but in China it had a very strong competitor. This company was called Didi. The situation was like the story of Kodak cameras and new digital cameras. Uber was like Kodak, an old company famous for film. Didi was like the new digital technology, fast and modern. Didi understood the Chinese market much better than Uber. Didi had a very smart strategy from the beginning. Uber came to China and wanted to use its own model with private cars. But Didi started differently. It first worked with the local taxi services. This was a good idea, because Didi quickly had many cars and professional drivers. It also built a good relationship with the taxi industry, while Uber was seen as a difficult competitor. Didi also had very powerful friends. It made partnerships with China's biggest technology companies, Tencent and Alibaba. Tencent owns WeChat, an app that almost everyone in China uses for messages and payments. Because of this partnership, people could order a Didi car directly inside the WeChat app. They did not need to download a new app. Alibaba owns Alipay, another very popular payment system. This meant paying for a Didi ride was simple and familiar for Chinese users. For a long time, Uber only accepted international credit cards, which most people in China did not use. Didi was a Chinese company, so it knew the local culture. It understood what Chinese customers wanted. For example, Didi knew that holidays like Chinese New Year were very important. Millions of people travel during this time. Didi created special offers and promotions for these holidays. They knew how to give discounts that Chinese people liked. Uber was a foreign company. It did not understand these small but important cultural details. This deep local knowledge helped Didi grow very fast. While Uber was a giant in the world, Didi was the local giant. It was building a service that was perfect for China, making it very difficult for Uber to compete. 5. The Money War. Uber and Didi started a big fight in China. It was not a normal fight. It was a war with money. Both companies wanted to be the most popular ride-hailing app. To win, they started to spend a lot of money. This was the start of the subsidy war. A subsidy is when a company gives money to make something cheaper for customers. Uber and Didi gave subsidies to both drivers and riders. For riders, this meant their trips were very cheap. Sometimes a ride was even free. For drivers, it meant they earned extra money, called a bonus, for doing more trips. Both companies hoped that cheap rides and driver bonuses would bring them more users. They wanted everyone in China to use their app. This war was very expensive. Uber and Didi spent billions of dollars. This money came from their investors. Uber was a rich company, but it was losing a lot of money very quickly in China. Reports said that Uber lost more than $1 billion there in just 1 year. It was very difficult for Uber to continue a business that lost so much money. The money war was harder for Uber than for Didi. When Didi spent money on subsidies, that money helped its Chinese partners, like WeChat and Alibaba. The money stayed inside the Chinese system and made it stronger. But when Uber spent money, the money was just gone. It did not build a strong local system for Uber. Didi also understood Chinese customers better. They knew how to create special offers that people liked, especially during holidays. Uber did not have this local knowledge. This gave Didi a big advantage, and the fight was not equal. 6. The ghost rides. Uber had another big problem in China. The company's data was not real. It was like a fake picture that looks real but is not. This problem was fraud. Many people were cheating the company to get money. It was like Uber was fighting against ghosts. The most famous type of fraud was the ghost ride. This was a fake trip that never happened. People created fake driver and rider accounts. Then the fake driver picked up the fake rider. The trip only existed on Uber's app.
Sometimes fraudsters put a scary picture as the driver's photo. This was to make sure real riders did not accept the trip by mistake. Because Uber offered subsidies to both drivers and riders, the fraudster collected all this money without driving anywhere. This fraud was not just a few people. There were large, organized groups. Some groups built special SIM card farms. These were rooms with hundreds of phones. Each phone had many Uber accounts. The phones were connected to computers.
The computers automatically booked and completed fake rides all day and night. These farms were like factories that produced fake trips. They were a business based on cheating Uber. By the summer of 2015, Uber thought that about 30,000 of its rides every day were fraudulent. Some employees believed the real number was much higher. This fraud was a very big problem. It lost a lot of money. But the bigger problem was that the fraud made Uber's data wrong. The company's leaders in America looked at their numbers and saw fast growth. They thought they were winning more customers. But a lot of this growth was just fraud. They could not trust their own information. It was impossible to know the company's real market share. The company was spending billions of dollars in the subsidy war against Didi. Now they knew a lot of that money was not going to real customers. It was going into the pockets of fraudsters. This made the money war even harder for Uber to win. They were not just competing with Didi, they were also fighting a secret war against thousands of cheaters. The company's real progress in China was hidden behind a wall of fake data. 7. A difficult fight. Uber worked hard to stop the thousands of fake rides. The company's engineers built new technology to find the people who were cheating the system. They created special computer programs to look for suspicious activity. For example, these programs checked for drivers and riders who matched too many times, or for trips that happened in impossible times. One of Uber's strongest ideas was a method called fingerprinting. This technology could identify a specific phone, like a fingerprint identifies a person. Even if a user deleted the Uber app and installed it again, Uber could still recognize the same phone. This was Uber's best tool to stop fraudsters who used many different accounts on a single device. However, this plan created a very serious problem with Apple. Apple has strict rules to protect the privacy of its users. Uber's fingerprinting technology was against these rules. In early 2015, Apple's CEO Tim Cook discovered what Uber was doing. He was very angry and called Uber's CEO to his office. He gave Uber a choice: stop the fingerprinting, or Apple would remove the Uber app from the App Store. This was a terrible situation for Uber. Losing the App Store would be a disaster for the company. They had to stop using their best technology to fight fraud. This left them in a very weak position. The company was now fighting a difficult war on three sides at the same time. They were fighting their powerful competitor, Didi, They were fighting the huge and expensive problem of fake rides, and they had a difficult relationship with the Chinese government. Leaders at Uber started to see that the fight was impossible. They were spending more and more money, but they were not winning. They were in a battle against a strong local company, organized criminals, and even other technology giants like Apple. It was becoming clear that Uber could not win in China. 8. The final deal. In old photography, a camera makes something called a negative. A negative is not the final beautiful picture. Its colors are inverted, light looks dark and dark looks light. But the negative is very important. You can use it to make many good photo prints. Uber's story in China was like a profitable negative. The company's failure was not the end. It was the start of something valuable. By the summer of 2016, the fight in China was too expensive. Uber was losing more than $1 billion every year. Travis Kalanick, Uber CEO, understood they could not win against Didi. He had to listen to his head, not his heart. So, Uber made a final deal. It sold its China business to its rival, Didi. In return, Uber got a large piece of the Didi company, about 17%. Didi also invested $1 billion directly into Uber's global business. This deal was very smart. Suddenly, Uber stopped losing money in China. Instead, it owned part of the most successful ride-sharing company in the country. The failure turned into a big asset worth billions of dollars. Uber spent about $2 billion trying to win in China. But its part of Didi was worth around $7 billion right after the deal. It was a failure that made a lot of money. Uber learned an important lesson. A former Uber board member, Bill Gurley, called it the smartest failure in business history. The company learned that its American plan did not work everywhere. It needed to be more flexible and understand local markets better. After China, Uber changed its strategy. In Southeast Asia, it made a similar deal with its local rival, Grab. Instead of a long and costly fight, Uber sold its business to Grab and took a large share in the company. The experience in China taught Uber humility. It learned how to turn a difficult loss into a profitable win. What do you think is the most important lesson a company can learn from a big failure?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.